And we are live. Hello, welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Ben Campbell. I'm a men's coach. The format of this show is that I ramble about various topics and take viewer-submitted questions. If you want to submit a question or a topic or something to watch, or if you want to call into the show, you can go to discord.gg/self-improvement. There's a channel there called Submissions. I am joined today by my good friend and former client, Anton Toya. Anton, say hello.
Hello, guys.
And just before, there's a bit of a delay on his end. He's in Bali at the moment, which is fucking awesome. But just before we start, I want to share a funny story with you about what happened to me last night. So I get woken up at about pretty much exactly 3:33 in the morning, by ringing and banging and someone like knocking and banging and ringing on my door. And this goes on for a couple of minutes, and it takes me a minute to actually like come out of my sleeping slumber and realize what the fuck's going on. And I'm thinking, this is a bit strange. Is it, what good comes of answering the door at 3 a.m? But then I start to think about it. I'm like, well, maybe someone's hurt, or maybe it's one of my friends needs help. Either way, this banging and this ringing just keeps happening, keeps going on. So I get out of bed and I tiptoe across to my door and I look out the porthole. And it's not anybody I recognize. It's some 35-year-old guy, reasonably heavy set, shady looking character, I have to say. And so I'm thinking, oh no, like nothing good is going to happen if I open the door right now. But this guy's banging, he's ringing, my neighbors are going to wake up. I got to do something about it. So I go to the kitchen and I grab myself a kitchen knife, and I'm completely naked as well. Like, I'm not wearing any clothes. So I answer the door completely naked, holding a kitchen knife. And I go, who the fuck are you? And it turns out that this poor guy, is just some guy from the hostel next door who's drunk and looking for his friends. He's standing there like, sorry, as this naked knife-wielding Scotsman is like...
He will be traumatized for sure.
So that was fun. I'm still tired because I got woken up in the middle of the night, but poor guy. Like I'm thinking either I'm about to get robbed or somebody needs help. But when I looked through the door and it's like some shady looking guy and he's like heavily banging on, I didn't think anything good was going to happen. So I met him with aggression, unfortunately for him. I'm just imagining that, like, you're drunk. You think that your friends are inside, and this is the hostel, and you're completely shit-faced. You're lost in a foreign country. You're knocking on the door, and someone opens naked with a knife.
I think the fact that you open the door naked is like an extra intimidation factor.
Yeah, I mean, what was I gonna do? Put clothes on him in my own house? And you don't want to fight a naked guy. Come on now. I felt like that would dissuade him a little bit more. I thought about putting on the robe, but I'm like, no, I'm going to go for full effect here.
That's so funny.
I have an introductory topic to start this stream with. I think I'm going to start coming with things to talk about, at least for the first 20 minutes, half an hour, because it takes me a while to warm up and get into a more... fluid state to answer people's questions properly. So I figure if I come with something that's prepared, it'll help me get through that first 20 minutes and warm my brain up. And so today I want to talk about mystery, and not the person, but the effect in dating, like that quality, that thing that people are always talking about in modern dating advice, where they say, oh, well, you need to keep people guessing and create a little bit of mystery, and never tell them exactly where you are or exactly what you're doing, because you want them to chase you a little bit. And today I'm going to explain why that is attractive and why it works, and why it's like a commonly said thing to do, but then at the same time why it's harmful to your actual results in dating, and why it's something that you shouldn't really be practicing. And again, this kind of stands to reason because it is one of the bits of pickup advice that people give, and then what to do instead. And so I'll start with the simple, like, what is mystery? It's fairly self-explanatory, but I feel like it bears going over. So if we, in dating, were only attracted to people that we already knew quite well, or that we already had some level of compatibility and connection with, we'd never get very far, because you'd never get past the first step of getting to know somebody. It's important that you're able to be attracted to people that you have no idea about in order to be able to move things forward. So the first stage of dating comes from, there's like three elements: chemistry, compatibility, connection. The first stage of dating is basic attraction, which comes from the chemistry that you feel for other people, which can be their physical appearance, or it can be like a literal chemistry coming from a pheromonal aspect or something like that. It's the thing that makes you feel animalistically attracted to someone. And then from there, it's natural, whether you realize that this is part of the process or not, it's natural that people start looking for compatibility and forming connections with each other. But in the first stages of dating, the most important thing is the chemistry right off the bat. And so where mystery comes into this is, mystery is the idea that if you play hard to get, or if you say, for example, you're texting with somebody in the first stages, you've got someone's number, if you wait a little while to text them, or you don't text them back immediately, or you don't tell them exactly what you're doing or where you're going, or you don't really share much about yourself in order to keep a little bit of excitement in the relationship and keep them wondering about who you are and what you're doing. And so it's attractive for the reason that it allows the other person to fill in the gaps about who you are and to sort of project an idealized version of you, of what they want onto you. And so, and this is like a normal, natural thing that happens in dating. As I said, it's normal for us to be attracted to people that we don't know, and it's normal for us to create ideas in our head about who people are. Where the issue comes in is when you start cultivating this deliberately, and I'll explain why. And so if you're and again, because this is a very common piece of dating advice, you go to any of the pickup guys or any like modern dating coach guru, a lot of what they'll teach you is like how to create mystery and be mysterious and all of this bullshit, right? Because it is exciting, and those initial first stages of a relationship are very exciting. They can give you a sort of emotional high that makes you feel more attracted to people, and they realize this and they want to cultivate that. And it's fine if you're just having one night stands or whatever, but it can cause problems. And it works. The reason that they tell you to do it, and part of the reason it works, is for two reasons. And one of them is the first thing that I said about it being something that it allows the other person to project an idealized version onto you. But also, if you're dealing with someone with any kind of form of insecurity or like a insecure attachment style, which is sadly most people in today's dating, if you're doing things that are creating distance between you, then it will encourage them to chase you more. And so it's essentially a form of emotional manipulation. So you're allowing them to project an idealized version onto you and to try and project onto you what they want to fill the piece of themselves that they're trying to fill through dating. And also at the same time, you're creating distance in which they can feel like they have to chase you in order to get that idealized version to give something to them. Does this make sense so far?
It does. For me, it does.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Now, again, it's perfectly normal for this to exist in some aspect in the beginning of relationships, but what I'm finding is that people are basing attraction entirely on the idea of mystery. So they're going, you're not attractive unless there is some form of mystery in your dynamic, and this is incredibly dangerous, and it leads to lots of fuck-ups. So let me just double check that we are actually streaming, because I made the mistake last week of streaming to nobody at all and doing it unlisted. We are live, good. And so one of the things that I've noticed, and there's a specific person in the men's personal development industry. I'm not going to call him out, but if you're at all aware of the situation, you're going to know exactly what I mean. And this person had a fairly public relationship, and he was talking about his relationship a lot, and then he broke up with his girlfriend, and he made videos saying like, oh, well, you know, the attraction had died in the relationship, and the mystery had died. She stopped seeing me as like this idealized picture of a man, and instead I was the I'm not going to use his exact wording, but he's like, I was the boyfriend that like left shit stains in the toilet and things like that. And so the bridge, the idealization, it sort of died. And in his mind, that's a bad thing, because relationships and attraction with women are based entirely off of that thing. They're based on them projecting an idealized version onto you. Unless you can maintain that all of the time, then you're not a masculine, attractive man. And part of this is coming from an inability to cultivate healthy vulnerability within a relationship. And I've written things about healthy vulnerability in the past, and I've talked about it in other streams, so we can go over that another time. But Essentially, so what I'm saying is a lot of the modern dating advice revolves around this idea of cultivating mystery because they are conflating an idealized version of a person and a lack of actual vulnerability and intimacy. So you're projecting, you're allowing them to project like an idealized image of you, and you're pretending to be someone that you're not, and not showing like all of the real human aspects of you in order to keep people attracted to you. And what this is actually telling me, and what it tells other people, is that you don't actually feel good enough on your own to be attractive and to have genuine intimacy with the person and to allow them to know you for exactly who you are. What you want to do instead is pretend to be this grandiose version of yourself with mystery and with excitement and with all of this stuff, and no downside, no vulnerability, no, like, you never cry, you don't leave shit stains in the toilet seat. You're not a real human being. You're a caricature of one. You know, you're like this idealized version, and it's ultimately a childish thing to do. So as I say, having a little bit of mystery in the beginning of a relationship is fine, but do not conflate the initial stages of a relationship with what a relationship actually is. Like, that you need to, like, that excitement, that honeymoon phase, that oh, you're the perfect person, I've projected this onto you, it does die after a while, and that's okay, because it gives way to like a genuine connection with people. And I am arguing at the moment that you should try and kill that mystery as soon as possible and be as direct as possible with people. Because trying to cultivate these behaviors, you're essentially saying that you don't think you're good enough for a person to actually love you for who you are, and or you are the kind of person that sees relationships just as that excitement and just as that mystery, and when that dies, you get bored with people and you're not actually forming real intimacy and connection. And these are both issues that I'm seeing a lot in modern dating today. So let me just go over my notes to find out what the next part of this is. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, even if this is how you treat all of your dating interactions, you can't play this game forever. And at some point, you're gonna have to let people in unless you just want surface level relationships, which again is what I see a lot of people doing. Like, there's no actual intimacy there. And so at some point or another, this mystery is going to die, and people are going to find out who you actually are. And so I think it's better to rip that band-aid off and be direct with people and tell them who you are off of the bat. So what I advocate for instead of all this mystery bullshit is being very direct with people. This is who I am. This is what I want. You don't hide things. You don't shy away from, like, one of the in my own behavior, one of the things that people have said about me, like, I've had friends introduce me to people here, especially here in Bulgaria, as, this is Ben, he burps, which I was like shocked by that. I'm like, what the fuck? And it turns out, like, I will just openly burp around people or openly fart around people that I'm dating, like women or whatever, and I'm not afraid of doing that because I don't think it's just a bodily function. It's not a sign of weakness for me. And most women, that, like, I've never had a woman be like, oh, you don't respect me because you're farting around me. But when I tell my male friends, it's like, yeah, I fart on first dates, like, who gives a shit? And they usually laugh, and they're like, what, you do that? You don't pretend that you never fart? And I was like, I'll take a shit on a first date at a person's house. And they're like, what? How could you do such a thing? I'm like, because I'm a human being with human bodily functions. And what happens is you're showing all of yourself to another person. And not only can they better judge who you are, it's far easier for both of you to figure out compatibility. And it also, it brings in, like, a sense of intimacy into the relationship. I'm not saying you should make it your move to, like, go and take a shit at people's houses on first dates. I'm just saying that to cultivate a sense of mystery and to pretend that you're something that you're not, and to hide aspects of yourself in order to keep people more attracted to you, is an ultimately juvenile thing to do. And it's the result of insecurity. It's the result of not believing that you're good enough. It's the result of trying to create a perfect image rather than just being as you are, and looking for genuine compatibility rather than stringing people along. Yeah. And this can manifest in behaviors, like I say, like not texting back or being vague about what you're doing, and it's all just emulations of behavior. Like that not texting back thing, for example, is an emulation of a behavior of a naturally busy and secure person. Like, I don't always text people back. You don't have to always text people back. But if you're doing it deliberately, you're attempting to send the signal of, I'm too busy, I don't care about you right now. Or if you're vague about who you are and what you're doing, it's like you're attempting to send the signal that you might be with somebody else, and like, you want to make this person jealous, and it's all game playing. It's all bullshit. And so, to summarize, this idea of mystery is an attractive thing, and it allows people to guess about you, and it will make people chase you, and it will make people follow after you, but it is ultimately an immature, juvenile way to go about dating. And the better way is to be completely upfront and honest with people and allow for natural compatibility to come in. And once you start doing this, you'll end up in better relationships and better friendships and everything like that. Is there anything, Anton, that you feel that I have missed when covering this, or any questions that brings up?
Do you think the being or playing a mysterious role is a way to avoid rejection?
Not rejection in the sense of like people, not like upfront rejection, but emotional rejection. Yes, like again, it comes back to the vulnerability thing. People are afraid to be vulnerable with women because they assume that if they express vulnerability as a man, that'll make them seem weak, and the woman won't be attracted to them, which is sort of true. And again, we've covered this before, and I've written things about this. If you go into the community, discord.gg/self-improvement, there are posts about the difference between healthy and unhealthy vulnerability. But yeah, it's a fear of intimacy ultimately, which I suppose is a kind of fear of rejection. You don't want to show this person who you actually are because you don't feel good enough. So,
okay,
yeah.
and then about like which, or do you implement this, for example, also on a first date, about being open about things that you normally aren't, or like your bad characteristics?
Yeah, so
how do you see this? Like, is it?
Sorry, there is a delay. Keep going. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just finished. So
okay. Yeah, so that wording that you used, which has now slipped my mind, but things that you wouldn't normally share. So I as a person, I'm a very open book. Like I believe in privacy, and I believe in like personal autonomy and the right to like not share things if you don't want to. But I am the kind of person that I don't really have anything to hide from people about my emotions and who I am as a person, and my likes and my dislikes and my sexual kinks and like all of this stuff. I'm not afraid of any of that, because I feel like, I used to get bullied as a kid, and people would make fun of me for certain things. And what I realized is you can only be affected by what people think about you if you yourself think it's negative. So I'll share things on dates with women that might seem like they could be used against me, or emotional vulnerabilities or whatever. And my mindset on it is, it's like, well, first of all, if you want to try and use that against me, you're the shitty person, not me. And also, this is just something natural to me, so why is it something that I would ever feel ashamed of? And again, I think this is it's the difference between insecurity and security. If you and healthy and unhealthy vulnerability, if you are comfortable with all of the things that other people might perceive as wrong with you, then there's nothing that they can do to use those things against you. And this whole like vulnerability with women thing is a lot of guys have had the experience where they express vulnerability with a woman, and then they end up in a place of weakness, and the woman is less attracted to them, and then they are suddenly out of the relationship. And there's a lot of like, most people in general are not very capable of dealing with other people's negative emotions. But there is some caveat to that. Again, I'm not going to go into it right now, because I've gone on to in other streams and other posts and other places. I don't want to go on a big rant about vulnerability right now. But yeah, back to what you asked, like on the first date, I think it is immediately important to just be upfront with people, and not to the extent where you're like trauma dumping and shit and just sharing all of the stuff that's bad about you. But there is a concept that I picked up from the previous company that I worked with called the disclaimer. And this is the idea that on the first date with a person, you should be upfront about all of the reasons why they might not want to date you, right? Or all of the things that might be a problem or a deal breaker for them. You put them all up front. So for example, for me, I go, I'm not looking for a serious relationship. I'm open to it, but right now I am sleeping with other people. I will continue to be sleeping with other people, and it's very rare that this dynamic that we have now is going to turn into something. I'm open to it, but do not expect that from me. So off the bat, I'm only looking for a casual relationship. And then I might not be available all the time. We'll only see each other once every whatever. You just lay out all of the bounds of what you're looking for and all of the reasons that might be deal breakers for them. And what most people do is because they're looking for maximum results instead of the best results, they're trying to get people to want them as much as possible. As a lot of guys will go on dates, and even if they're not looking for a girlfriend, they won't say that, and they'll just tell the girl everything she wants to hear, and then they'll sleep together, and then the guy will be like, oh, I thought we didn't use labels, and then the girl's hurt and upset, and that's a really shitty thing to do. So I think you should put all of these things up front, and I've personally found that most people are completely fine with whatever you offer as long as you're honest about it. Like I have dated women that are actively looking for boyfriends, but because I tell them I'm not looking for for a relationship, they don't not want to keep spending time with me. They go, oh, so I can keep looking for a boyfriend, and this guy's not jealous, and because he's a dating coach, he'll actually help me to find a boyfriend. But then at the same time, I can be spending time with him and having great sex and having a great time. And what's the downside here? Yeah, let's do this. So yeah, I think you should be as honest and upfront on a date as possible. And like I say, this whole idea of cultivating mystery and not being straightforward with people on the first date, it comes from the idea that you don't have enough to offer. Like you've not developed yourself as a person. You're relying on game playing to make people actually attracted to you. Like once they find out who you are, there's nothing there for you to actually give to them. You're just some fucking guy, like every other fucking guy. Like what are you doing with your life that is making you attractive? Are you socially capable? Are you mentally capable? Are you physically capable? Do you have financial resources? Like what's actually going on in your life that makes you attractive to people besides the mystery that you're cultivating? If you ask a lot of guys in dating this, they don't have an answer. Because what a lot of guys do when they get into dating stuff off the bat is they are so focused on meeting their needs of like intimacy and an emotional connection and sexuality and all of this stuff that they don't realize that there's other areas of their life that need to be worked on. Like they feel lonely, and so all they focus on is trying to get dates, and then they're held back by the fact that they have nothing to offer when they're going on these dates. And it honestly can be as simple as I've been in situations in my life where I've lived in a tent and washed in a river and had no fucking money and just played guitar for cash and still had women and friends around because I was a socially competent person. I made people feel good with my presence. That is enough. But most guys don't have even that. So yeah, I think a lot of this, it comes from insecurity, and it comes from the feeling of not being enough, or actually just not being enough, which are fixable things. And if this sounds like you and you want to fix it and you want to make better friends and get better dates, discord.gg/self-improvement. You can sign up for coaching there, or you can just reach out to me one-on-one. I do free one-on-one coaching calls, and I run through and I have different programs and different things that we can do. And Anton himself has been on a couple of programs, and you want to say a word about that?
Well, yeah, it basically changed my life in a very short sentence. So yeah, it changed my way of thinking. It destroyed my fears and my mental barriers, and it opened my world to what is possible, and how the most natural way of approaching dating should be. It feels so good, in my opinion.
I have not paid him to say that. He paid me. Yeah, good. Okay, so I think that covers that topic. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about. If you have any other questions or whatever, we can go into them first. There's a couple of things in the Discord, but they're not urgent. So.
All right. So basically, like I'm looking for the word to say comprehend everything together. It's like just not wasting each other's time, right?
Yeah.
Because if you pretend somebody like
not only not wasting people's time,
who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Not only not wasting people's time, but not lying to them about who you are. Because it's more egregious than a waste of time. It's a waste of faith and trust. And like I say, this kind of, cultivate mystery and pretend to be someone else and all of this stuff, it works on certain kinds of people, and it tends to work on more emotionally insecure people, which is bad. Like you're preying on people's emotions for your own benefit. And it's just, and again, like a lot of things in pickup and a lot of things in like modern dating advice and game, that comes from the idea that you're not good enough on your own to get what you want. And so you have to play games with people in order to get it. And that's fundamentally broken, honestly. Yeah, no bueno. All right.
I can see why some people use it and it feels good, because it's like some sort of dark psychology almost.
Yeah,
because they are in theory not lying, but they keep the mystery and they let the other person fill in what they might want to think of this person.
Yeah, and in their head, they're like, well, I'm not being deceptive. I'm just not being fully upfront with people. It is deception. It is lie. Like, if you are, whether you are directly lying to people or you are simply obscuring the truth and preventing them from having the truth, that is still a form of like theft. It's you are lying to them. You are stealing the truth from them by hiding it. Yeah, which is fucked. And yeah, the whole dark psychology. It's People, a lot of people in today's world think that they need to do bad things in order to get the things that they want. They think if they want to get money, they have to fuck people over. They think if they want to get dates, they have to trick people. And it's fundamental insecurity and lack of self-worth. And those things can be fixed and addressed. And once you fix them and address them, you'll have much better dates and much better friendships. And anyone can go through this process, whether you're like incel or black pill or like I really want to do a project at some point where I just, for free, I'll just find like a beyond, someone who thinks they're completely beyond redemption, like a full-on incel that's like, I'm unattractive and no women ever wants me and blah blah blah, and then just spend like a month with them, and then at the end of the month and track them from beginning to end, and like, oh yeah, I started going to the gym and eating better and like socializing more and working on my shit, and now I have 3 girlfriends and I'm perfectly happy, and you know, I followed Ben's advice and I've been going out and actually talking to people and doing it with the expectation that things will be okay, rather than the expectation that things will go badly for me, because that puts out a negative energy, and then look, all of a sudden everything's working for me. I think that would be fun at some point. And I was speaking to Slade last night. We went out for a drink, and I was talking about like an ex-girlfriend or something. I was she was so attractive. She was out, and I was joking. I'm like, she's out of my league. And he's like, you know, you're a really attractive guy, right? And I'm like, I said to him that sometimes because of my job, I don't think I'm like, oh, it's super attractive. I think I'm reasonably average, or if not just like slightly above average in looks. And I don't think these things actually matter for men, as I've gone across many times. So I'm not trying to like toot my own horn here, but a lot of guys think it matters more than it does, and it really is just like the world will treat you better if you're more attractive, but it's a foot in the door more than anything, and your personality and who you are is far more important. So what I said to him is that sometimes I wish that I was less physically attractive, because then my advice would resonate more with people. Because if I was like a really fucking ugly guy and I was like, look at the results that I'm getting, then people would be more inclined to believe me and not just use the bullshit excuse of like, oh, it's just because you're attractive. Yeah. Like I used to look in the mirror and I had broken teeth and straightened hair, and I was like just an emotional mess, and I was like, you're disgusting and I hate you and everything's wrong with you. Like I've been there. I've been where those guys are. Yeah. It's not a good place to be, and I feel bad for them, which is why I do what I do. Like I want people to be happy. I want them to get emotional and sexual fulfillment and the things that they need, and intimacy and connection with people. Like the tagline for my company is, you deserve a life filled with connection, because you do. Everybody does. It is your natural human right. But people don't see that, and they block themselves from it because of their own internal bullshit.
What would your advice be for like you like the incel, for example? Would it first be like work on yourself and then date, or would you say he also can, or she can date from the moment you start self-improvement?
I mean, so the main thing to address is mindset. Because it all starts within. Like it's all about how you perceive. Like I'm not saying that you will just get good results if you believe that you will, but there is a correlation between those two things, and on the aggregate you will get more positive results if you believe that you will. And there's like an energy that, like, I'm sure you experienced in Varna, for example, when we were on the boot camp and I approached that girl, and she immediately, even though she had a boyfriend or whatever, she immediately stopped, looked me straight in the eye, and answered, and it was like a nice interaction, and there was presence there, even though it was like she wasn't even interested in me, right? You remember that? And I went back to you and Evo, and you're like, wow, look at this, like, this is the perfect example. Do you recall?
Yes, I totally remembered.
Yeah. And again, I was talking to Slade about this last night. What causes that is not that I'm attractive, or not that I'm it's the presence. It's the energy that I am going into things with, and that is created by my belief system about what I'm doing, and why what I'm doing is a morally good thing to do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I am spreading joy and positivity in the world. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me going and telling a girl she's pretty and asking for her phone number. That's a normal, natural human behavior that results in positive things all of the time, right? And that's my belief system. And so when I go into these things, I'm not really that nervous, and I'm not super, and even when I am nervous, it's the same effect. It's like I believe that what I'm doing is fine, and I'm fully present in the moment with this person. I'm looking them in the eye. It's like I wrote a post about this. And I think it's actually one of the free posts. It's how to make a good approach. If you go to discord.gg/self-improvement, you go to free stuff, there is a post there that says how to make a good approach. And I lay out all of the like science of this in there. When you stop people in the street, they are existing in like a hypnotic state. They're not really present. They're thinking about like their bills or their family or just whatever bullshit people think about, or they're listening to music or whatever. They're not fully aware and in the moment. And so when you approach them and you stop them, they're gonna mirror and they're gonna pick up on whatever energy you are putting out. And if that's not in alignment with your internal state and you're pretending to be something else, it's gonna come across as creepy and weird. And like if you have this like weird nervous energy and you don't explain that, which I again put in the post, like it's okay to be nervous. It's not as easy, but it is still fine to be nervous, and you get good results nervous. You just have to call it out so that they're aware of your internal state and it doesn't come across as something that is unknown to them anyway. If you go into things with a good energy, like I always say, do it with the same energy as if you were asking for a pen or asking for directions, because then it's just like a normal, natural thing. And I've noticed when I first started doing this, and when I was a lot younger, I was like 17, 18 or something, and I worked for WWF, the panda wildlife conservation. And I was approaching people all day, every day with a clipboard, and everybody was just fucking ignoring me. I was a high-vis vest clipboard. Hi, how you doing? Have you got a moment to talk about? No, fuck off. And everybody was just leaving me alone. I ran out of ink for my pen, and this is how I came up with this. I ran out of ink for my pen, and I walked up to somebody. Again, clipboard, high-vis vest. I went, excuse me. With the intention of asking them, like they had a briefcase. I'm like, they probably have a pen. Immediately stopped, looked me straight in the eye, full undivided attention. And I'm like, oh, that's the key. Like I was being salesy and bullshit and inauthentic before, and now I'm just honestly asking them for something as if it is a normal, natural thing to do, and I have their complete and full attention, and from there I actually start doing better in the job. What was your initial question? I've completely forgotten.
I also forgot, but I have a new question about this last thing.
Okay.
You said your energy matches, like, but what if you're like a happy, vibrant person? Does it also resonate with you? Like if you are in the first interaction happy and vibrant?
Are you saying I'm not a happy and vibrant person? No, I am. Whatever your internal state is, your external state should match. If you're excited, be excited. If you're nervous, be nervous. If you're calm, be calm. I would say do it with whatever energy that you would like, but don't, like if you're excited, be excited, but overall you should be viewing approaching as something natural and normal to do, and then you will start to do it in a very calm manner for most people. Like, so I used to work for a guy called Sasha. You can look him up. Sasha Daygame or he's now Alexander Lazarev on YouTube. He's gone a bit down the not that I think spirituality is bad, but he's gone down like a very intense spiritual rabbit hole and left the company and dropped off. I used to work for this guy back when he was in the dating sphere. And his method was that he would run up to people and usually he had like a top knot and like a bright red leather jacket and yellow pants, and he'd jump in front of people and go, "Hey!" Right? And women are like, "Oh my God." And just completely taken aback by this energy. But it worked for him because that is his internal state. He is that guy. He's that, "Hey, how's it going?" You know, he's all over the fucking place, or at least he was back then. And so that was in alignment with his internal state. And what happened was a lot of people didn't like it, but he naturally attracted all of the women that liked that wanted that energy, that appreciated him for that. But what happened was, because he was a dating coach and he had millions of views on YouTube or whatever, it created a lot of guys that were copying the same thing and just doing that because they thought that's how it done, and they're basically running around being clowns and repelling all of the women that they talk to. And they're like, why doesn't this work? It's like, because it's not authentic to you. That's why it doesn't work. You're pretending to be something that you're not, and people are picking up on that. Yeah. I want to know what we were talking about before I went on to the Varna example, because there was something there, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. It'll come back.
I was questioning about the Enso person. Like, does he have to focus on dating first, or
yes? I'm saying it's all about mindset, and so the actual reason that for the incel guys it doesn't work is, first of all, they have a very limited sample size, so they've maybe, you know, spoken to a couple of women in their life, or they've had very intense feelings for someone and then it's outpoured and they've been rejected, or they've been vulnerable with someone and they've been rejected, or they've just never tried and they realize that they get treated differently because of their looks. And that does happen. Like if you are an objectively unattractive guy, it is harder for you, but it's not impossible, and it's not nearly as bad as you think. What actually causes most of the effects in the external world is how you feel about how you are and how you think that people will treat you. So if you've had a couple of bad experiences experiences and you internalize that, all you're going to do from that point forward is have more bad experiences, because that's the energy that you're putting off, right? And that's how you feel about yourself, and so that's how other people will treat you. And the example that I brought up, because somebody asked about this in the chat in Discord like a week or so ago, was Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito is an objectively very unattractive man, right? But he does, I'm sure he has like a wife or whatever. He's like a famous, successful actor, happy guy, lots of money, very successful. Ugly, tiny man. No offense, Danny, I love you, but ugly, tiny man, objectively, right? Does great. Why? Because of his mentality, right? Yes, he got lucky. Yes, this, yes, that, but it's because of his mentality. He didn't let his physical appearance stop him or think that that was the only thing that was going to affect his success in the world. And he just went out and did what he wanted to do and got the results, right? And I've like the company that I previously worked for, there was I wasn't there on this occasion, but there was a guy that came, the ugly fucking, like, big fat guy, a couple of missing teeth, in his 40s or 50s or whatever, and I think it was, I can't remember where it was. I'm gonna say it was the Balaton. I don't recall exactly. But anyway, they're approaching women on the beach, and he sees this model-looking girl, mid-20s, whatever, beautiful girl, and he's like, I could never have a girl like that. And the coach was, why not? Go and talk to her. Like, just at least find out. Worst case, you get rejected and it's the same as every other. Like, just fucking go and try, right? Like, half an hour later, she's giving him a hand job in the water. Why? they come back later, massive smile on his face, and arm around her, and they're getting on like a house on fire, right? And the coach asked her, she's like, why do you, what do you see? Like, this guy had some insecurities. He didn't think that he could attract a woman like you. What's going on? And her response was, well, his physical nature and his energy and the way that like he communicates reminds me of my father, and that makes me feel safe. And I've always wanted a man that reminded me of my father. And that can sound like weird and incestuous to some people, but a lot of women think that way. If they have a good father role model in their life, they want a guy who's like that. And so, like, it's not up to you what people find attractive. It's up to them. And your job is just to go out and find the people that find you attractive. We had a guy in New York, this programmer type, lots of limiting beliefs, like quite autistic, bit of a stutter, hunched back and stuff like that. He got like 4 phone numbers and a couple of dates, and someone invited him out. You will get the results if you just try, and if you have the faith that this can work. But because it's all based on compatibility, and it's not up to you to decide if you're not compatible with everybody, it's up to the world. And there are so many people out there in so many different circumstances, so many different things, that there are always compatible people. Always. There's a lid for every fucking pot. And again, I go back to the example that I've brought up a couple of times, that guy on YouTube, that I think he was called like Never Give Up or something. He was this incel guy. And I haven't watched his content, but I've watched the progression of like a compilation progression of some of his earlier videos to some of his later ones. Basically, he was releasing these videos, like he called his channel Never Give Up, and he had this mindset that he was going to get a girlfriend and all of this stuff. But I suppose he was talking about like his physical appearance and saying he's too ugly or whatever, and it's going to be hard for him. Some girl commented on his profile like, I think you're kind of attractive, no joke. And then she flew out to, I can't remember where it was, like Sweden or something like that. And they ended up getting married, and now he's like, and she's an attractive girl, like, and she's like, yeah, I think you are attractive. What are you talking about? Boom, and they met up and they started doing things and they hang out and they got on like a house, and now he has a wife. Like we had guys in the like I said, the previous company that I worked for before starting this one. I've been in this industry since I was like 14, 15, and I've been working professionally in it for 5 or 6 years now. Even though I only started this company last year. There was a guy, there's been a couple of examples of guys saying like, nothing has worked for me and I'm going to kill myself if this doesn't work. And I don't like to take those clients because it's a hell of a lot of, like, it's not my responsibility, but they ended up coming and paying for the course and whatever. None of them are dead. Like, one of them has a wife and kids now. It's all in your head. Yeah, it's all in your head. I have to relight this because
that's it. Like, if you just are able to be direct, dare to approach, and your honest self, it's life changing. Only those 3 things.
So back to the incel question.
There is indeed a lid for every product.
Yes, back to the incel question. It's all about changing mindset, and so the things that I would do to change that mind, it's everything in conjunction. So first of all, start like lifting weights and running and taking care of your body and eating better, because that'll change your gut microbiome, and literally your physiology will change the way that you feel, right? And you'll start to feel more confident. You don't have to like have big muscles to attract girls. It does help, but not as much as people think it does, hilariously. But what it really does help with is making you feel better, making you more confident and more energetic and all of these things, and building an internal state that makes you feel better about yourself. And also it's a form of discipline, and so that feeds back into your sense of self-worth. And we talked about self-worth another time and how you need to build up like different pillars of that to cultivate like a proper sense of self-worth and confidence within yourself. And so changing the mindset, and you can change mentality through either repeated affirmation and like faith. So like you take certain thoughts and you replace them with better thoughts forcibly, or you can change it through action and result. And so you do everything simultaneously. So you like, yes, you can start off by going out and talking to people and dating. It's going to be hard, but the more that they do that and the more that their mindset changes in tandem. So simultaneously, you want to be acting on faith that people like myself know what the fuck we're talking about, and that you can actually have the things that you want. Stop telling yourself that you can't. So the first thing is really to act on faith and go, I trust this person. So trust me that I know what I'm talking about and I can get you the results that you want. And then you will start to act with that little bit of faith and get it out of your head that this isn't going to work, even if you're not getting immediate results. And then simultaneously, once you actually start getting results, it destroys that mentality. Like you've experienced this yourself when we went out on the boot camp. You're like, can this really work? And then you do it, and then you get the results, and you can no longer simultaneously have the belief that it can't work and that it is working. You know, so I see actions and results and mindset and just who you are as a person as a cyclical thing. It's like there is the mental process, and then there is the action, and then there is the physical result out in the world, which feeds back into the mental process, into the action, into the result. And you can start anywhere in this circle. But ultimately, the thing that you need to fix to make everything work is the mental part, because everything starts in mind. So that's how I would fix it in.
And also... Yeah. And so sometimes, even after a boot camp, you have like your ego creeping back in and telling you like, oh, it was maybe just a boot camp or only that week or that location where it works.
Yeah, which is
every time it's your task to counter this with action, and action will prove or will change your mentality so quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the thing, like the main thing that I actually teach people is just changing their mentality and fighting against their ego, because your ego, the thing that you think of as you, that little voice in your head, it wants you to maintain the status quo because it's afraid that if you do anything out of the ordinary, you're gonna die. Like your ego doesn't care if you're happy, it just cares about your survival, and it doesn't want you to do anything different from how you normally act. This is why changing behavior is really hard. It's partly the actual brain chemistry and the way that connections are made. It's like it involves a lot of energy, and it's difficult to break and rewire those things. You can do it with time, but the other thing is they both act hand in hand. One of them is the actual mental component of that voice in your head telling you not to do things or making up excuses and making up fears. And it's so good at this. It's the best thing it can do, and the thing it is best at, rather, is to convince you to keep doing the things that you're doing and not do anything different. And so when you start to take up new behaviors, you will find your brain, if say it's like you want to go to the gym, and your brain, and I experience this all of the time, as you know, from the fact that I didn't go to the gym for like 3 weeks, and I just texted you the other day, but let's not talk about that right now. Your mind is telling you, or like for me with the gym example, it's like, you can just go tomorrow, and then tomorrow is next week and next month. But if you fall prey to it's just as easy as, just go tomorrow, then you're never going to do anything. Whereas if you get past, it's just tomorrow, it's like, well, it's raining outside. It's like, well, it's raining outside. And then the next step is like, you haven't exactly got the best outfit for it right now. It's like you will counter lots of resistance. And so then the more dangerous, like one of the most dangerous things that we have as people is social stuff. Like we're fundamentally social creatures. We need other people for our survival and to like just feel good. The worst punishment you can give to somebody in prison is to put them in solitary confinement. They're surrounded by murderers and rapists, but putting them in a box by themselves will make them go insane, right? You cannot survive without other people. And so and especially when we lived in tribal communities, the social aspect of things was the most important aspect, because the only thing that mattered was your connections to other people in terms of your survival. Because if you got cast out, you'd starve to death, or like you can't take care of yourself on your own. You can in modern society, but you never used to be able to, and we still have that implanted in us. So if you're doing anything that is going to make you face rejection, that voice is really fucking loud, and it'll come up with all sorts of reasons as to why you can't do things. And you break that by showing it, by going, no, fuck you, I'm in charge, and showing it the results of your actions are positive and that you're not going to die and that everything's fine. And over time, what happens is that voice will then start to work for you because it's your new status quo. If you're someone that takes action all the time, that voice in your head then starts to go, yeah, go meet that girl and go do that thing. And also the pathways are fired in your brain, so it starts to become habit. Like over time, it does get easier. But the mistake that a lot of people make is they come on the boot camp or go through like a short term, and it will take you from A to B very quickly. Like people have psychedelic experiences on the bootcamp where they're like, oh wow, everything in my life has changed and I am now this new person. And that's also a trap, because then what happens is there's a reason, like I follow up with people. I go, I have taken you from A to B, you need to keep yourself there, right? And I will help you do that, but don't think that you can just now become complacent. There is a period of like rewiring who you are as a person to keep this up. Because what happens is, like you say, that you go home and then you're like, well, I've already done it, so I don't need to go out tomorrow. And then, well, I was in Sofia, this would never work in Antwerp, and like all sorts of bullshit like that are just nonsense excuses that your mind is coming up with you to try and keep you in inaction. Yeah. So, and it is like, change is hard. Deal with it. You can either do the difficult work of changing and have the results that you want in your life, or you can go, it's too hard, and then forever just be like. There's a Jim Rohn quote that I love. We must all suffer one of two pains in life, either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. But the difference is that discipline weighs ounces, whilst regret weighs tons. So it's a choice. It's a choice. Do you want to get past, do you want to understand your brain for what it is and get past all of the resistance that it's giving you and actually have the life that you want, and learn to love hard work and perseverance and all of these things, and it'll make you feel like a stronger, better person, and people will respect you more because you respect yourself, and you just start to create a wonderful life for yourself by accepting that is part of living? Or do you want to go, it's too hard, and just be an apathetic piece of shit your whole life and never get anything? Woe is me, I could never do this, ego, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, Anton, on you go. There is a bit of a delay.
Yes, but the ego is so smart and sneaking its old way back into you. And that's why I agree, the community and you still keeping up with me made like the change lasting. Yeah. Because I had the same like psychedelic experience that you talk about. Like it's almost if you're like in a new reality. And this is scary because the ego after the camp creeps in again. And then like if I wouldn't have had you at that time, I would have fallen back into my old habits. I 100% for sure, but you kept me in check and asking me about my progress and what actions I took this week, and this kept me on it. And now it's like a new identity for me.
I'm glad. Yeah, I mean that's the reason we do the weekly calls. Like every haven't been doing them much recently because there's just no interest at this point. Like I say, this is a fairly brand new company, but every what day is it? Every Sunday after the stream, about an hour after the stream, there is a live call that people can, and it's not live like this, but live like in a group setting together, and it's not recorded, like it's perfectly private. There is a tier within the coaching that I give that's $100 a month that is those calls, and the point is that it's monthly. Like there's a weekly call, you get one that's just yourself within the month as well, and you can choose whenever that is. And the point is that you do need constant upkeep to keep affirming these things. After like a couple, like I feel like you're in the stage now, Anton, where you're pretty good with this stuff and you don't really need me around anymore, which is good, but it takes a while to get there. And so I, like I'm not trying to like the reason I do follow up and I'm like, no, you gotta stick around, you gotta stay in the community is not because it's like, oh, I need you to keep paying me. It's like, no, because you're gonna fall off the wagon unless you keep this up. Like it takes a while to make change, but that's what I'm here for. And what's $100 a month against the rest of your life, And that price is going to go up when there's more interest as well.
Yeah, but for me, like it took me at least 1.5 years of constant work, and it definitely changed because at the beginning I was mostly like just watching and observing the guys and reading content about you, and then I took the bootcamp and I put in like some serious work for myself, and then I kept following up with you, and then like in 1.5 years I really
And
changed like
that
a
in
lot.
itself was an act of faith as well, which is a beautiful thing to do. But something interesting you meant, you're like, yeah, I spent about a year before that just reading things and going over stuff. Like there are different tiers in the community. One of them is the coaching tier, and I do the boot camp, which is quite an expensive course, but you don't need to like, you can just do the weekly calls if you want. But I have different tiers, and the first one is just $10 a month, and it's just read acts, so you just get to read everything and go through everything, and these calls are free, so you don't even have to do that if you don't want the money. But I think it's a fair exchange of value that I've taken my time to work on this shit all of my life and then collect it into written form in forums, like all organized there for you to go into. And the cheapest tier is $10 a month, and I quite often do discounts for that, so you can get it as cheap as $5. I also say that to people that can't afford it, DM me and we'll work something out. Like if you can afford $2 a month, pay me $2 a month. I'll give you access. If you want to do it for free, like find something that you can exchange, and I'll give it to you for free. You know, or if I feel you're deserving, I'll give it to you for free if I think you're going to put in the work. Like I don't think, and I'm not really in this for money. I just believe in a fair exchange of value. So if you're someone that really needs to change and put in the work, but you don't have the money, talk to me. I'll give it to you for free. I don't care, right? I genuinely want to see people grow, but. Yeah, there's this concept of like mental masturbation where people are like, oh, it's bad. Like you need to be acting. You can't just stay and read and blah 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 blah. It's like I went through a period of several years before I actually started acting within the industry that I was just reading and consuming information, and most people do, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's actually part of the process, because what you're doing is you're rewiring your belief system. Like even if you're just reading something and you're not actually acting, when it comes to the point where you do decide to act, you then have all of this reference information that is held. Like had you not done that and just come on the course, do you feel you would have had a different experience? I'm not saying you wouldn't have got through it, but did it make it easier on the course that you already had this reference information to begin with?
Yes, it helped for the information in the community, but therefore I was also like reading a lot of self-help books, and those things, I don't know, maybe it was for me like a waste of time, because they make you feel like you know something, but then in the end, I never did something with it. So
yeah, there that is on it. Like consuming information is good, but you got to make sure you're actually getting good information, because there's a fuck of a lot of fluff in the self-improvement industry. And one of the major, like again, the same guy that I was talking about earlier, I'm going to disparage him again now. I'm not going to name his name, but again, if you're at all involved in these things and you're in the YouTube space in men's personal development, you're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. There's people that are like, oh, if you're really on this journey, what you should do is start a YouTube channel and start sharing things with people and like documenting your progress. And that documenting your progress is fine. But what actually happens is they then try to emulate that person, and what happens is you have like, and I wrote a post about this as a free post. It's called why you are in brackets probably not ready to help people. If you go to discord.gg/self-improvement, go to the free chat, or the free stuff tab, it's in there. It's called why you're probably not ready to help people, because this is a major problem in the self-improvement industry, is that young guys come in. And I did this myself when I was like 16. I was like, I'm going to write a book and it's going to be amazing. And I started a Facebook group, and it was all just it was just surface level bullshit. They take in information, and then they presume to become a coach or a guru. And really what they're trying to do is fulfill their own ego and take the things from the people that they look up to. Like there's people in the industry that have what they want and have an audience. And so they think if I just start repeating information, I can be like that person, and they're skipping over doing all of the actual work. Like I've had people text me and be like, oh yeah, I'm a coach as well, and I'm like, oh yeah, what do you coach people on? And they're like, anything. I just give no nonsense advice, and I help people get to where they want. And I'm like, okay, so you give advice on everything. He's like, yeah, I can tell you exactly what you need to hear, no bullshit, no nonsense. I'm like, okay, so you have like an amazing relationship with women or women, and like you have no problem attracting women and having relationships, and you have lots of money because you're obviously giving business advice, and a great relationship with your family and your friends, and like you're living your life exactly as you want to be living it, and all of the areas that you're giving advice on are things that you have absolutely nailed down and you're an expert in. He's like, oh no, I ain't got none of that. I live with my parents. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, because what happens is people like that come into the industry, and or arguably worse or the same, the just bullshit marketers that do the same thing, that are a bit more wise to sales and stuff. And collectively, these people, they flood the industry with surface level bullshit, bad information. And then what happens is people get disparaged or discredit, or they think, like Pickup's a perfect example. A lot of it, like Inceldom came from Pickup. There was a forum called PUA Hate for all the people that Pickup wasn't working for, and so they all became fucking incels as a result. The pendulum swung the other way, and it's a horrible thing that happens in the industry because people are just bullshitting. And then I come along and like, not to toot my own horn, I am an expert at this. I know what I'm talking about. I have the results that I can demonstrate to other people. I have clients that have the results that I can demonstrate to other people. I am in, and I try not to talk about things that I'm not an expert in. And if I do, I say, I don't really know what I'm talking about here. But when it comes to dating and socialization and all of that stuff, I am an expert, and I can get you results demonstrably, provably. I have a track record of doing so. But because I'm young and because of this effect, and the people come in and they see this and they're like, oh, it's just another young bullshit guy, and it makes it harder for the actual good information to get out, you know, and the good advice and the actual coaches. Like I'm not a guru. I'm not fucking better than anybody, but I do have access to information that other people don't, and I know how to apply it in a way that works, which is more that can be said for most people. So yes, it is good to go through like an information gathering stage, but it's important to, like, I had the same thing. It's like a lot, most of the books, like I've read thousands of fucking books and most of them were trash. And loads of YouTube videos and loads of things. It's like most of it was trash, and it is. Yeah, I don't really know what to do about that besides to put out a message of please, if you are getting into this industry, do not presume to teach until you have reached a level of mastery in the certain area. Like, you know, yeah, I'm a men's coach, but I specialize in dating and I specialize in social relationships. And I know a little bit about like productivity and how the mind works and all of that stuff. And so I teach a little bit of that, but I do it with the expressed, I give the disclaimer up front that I am not an expert. Like, I'm not, anytime I give somebody, like someone asks about depression, I'm like, I'm not a psychologist. Like, do not take my word for this. But when it comes to the dating stuff, I'm like, no, this is exactly how it is because I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah, that annoys me, honestly. It's really bad for everybody, because what happens is people come in, they get disillusioned, and they don't get the help that they actually need. And so they become incels, or they become black pill or whatever. And it's toxic. It's fucked up. Yar.
I think it also gives the industry like a bad name.
It does, because it is full of scam artists and grifters, and especially in the financial side, like, because people want money, and really, like, all you really need to know about money, and this doesn't mean it's going to make it easy to make money, but money is an exchange of value. It is like the energetic representation of the human will, right? That's what money is. It's like people want something, and so they exchange money for it. It's intention, it's will, it's energy, it's all of that. It's an exchange of value. It's all of the above, right? So if you want money, provide value. Find things that you can do, or problems that you can fix, or exchanges that you can make that are valuable to people with money, and charge them money for it, and you have money. And you can either just trade your time to a boss who will pay you to do that thing, and that's what most people do, or you can come up with something that you can do yourself that is valuable to other people, and then the money will come. That's how you make money. That's what money is. But yet people are always asking, oh, how do you make, and they want like a get rich fucking quick scheme, and so you end up with like trade forex and do drop shipping, and like all of these things can work, but they work for a very small percentage of people. And like all of these people that are trading these courses are like, I'll show you my forex course, and I'll show you my drop shipping course, and I'll show you this and that. It's like, if you have a machine that prints money, right? If you have a method for making money and you are selling that method, what are you making money from? Are you making money from the method, or are you making money selling the method? You know? Like, especially in like day trading and forex and stuff, because that is a zero sum game. It's like you only make money when other people are worse at it than you. It's like I play poker. All of the best poker players are making most of their money selling I mean, not all of them, but like people like Jonathan Little, for example, he makes money by telling other people how to play poker well, and he knows what he's talking about in that case, but he's not actually playing, like, he still plays poker, but he makes more of his money from courses and stuff now, because the game is getting harder because of people like him teaching people how to play courses. So if you're in forex or any trading, and you're teaching people your methods for how to trade, if those methods worked, you wouldn't be teaching people them, you know? It's all fugazi. It's all a scam. But yeah, and it's bad for the industry, because people conflate self-improvement with scam a lot of the time, and that's sad, because there's a lot, like, it's just information, and it's how you apply that information that determines whether it's good or bad, and it's what you're doing with that information, and your energy and your intent, and the way that you sell it to people, and your actual level of expertise, whether you're just repeating things that you've heard, or whether you actually have experience and knowledge in that area. And that's what sets good coaches apart from every other coach.
as soon as you like question them more deeply about their expertise, like it at least for me, it's kind of obvious, like because I've been coached by you, that they don't know their things, like in the dating area.
This is especially
based off of like the pickup things and sounding smart.
Even so I put a video called The Problem with Pickup. It's on the main YouTube channel if anybody watching this wants to go and learn more about that. But I'll give you an example. I had a boot camp in Kiev, but before the war. This was 2019, 2020. And there was another guy that's again, I don't want to target specific people, but if you well, I'll give you, I'm not going to name him, but I'll give a bit of background. He was a meditation guy, and then he got into dating, and he's in his whole shtick, and the part of the name of his company is about being natural, and because a lot of the pickup stuff is about emulating natural behavior, and even though that's all bullshit. And him and his team were there in Kiev with a bunch of guys that they were teaching. And one of the guys on my course, this Australian guy, maybe he's from New Zealand. I think he was Australian though. This Australian guy was he paid for the course, and he said that he almost went with the other guys because he saw that, because he was in Kiev for like work or something, and he's like, well, I'm here for this week. Both of these coaches are in here. Which one do I pick? And he ended up going with us because he felt it was more authentic. Like he studied a little bit, and he was like, okay, this seems better. His friend went with the other guys, and they compared afterwards, and he's like, I am so glad I went with you. And whilst we were there, we saw the guys out and about, and it's like they're all making approaches and stuff. And they had maybe like 5 or 6 clients out and about, and they're all riding around on the like bird scooters or whatever. And you could see them literally a mile away, because they're just like the energy that they're giving off is fake confidence, and it was so fucking clear. It was so clear. Like both of my guys were like, oh, there's one of them again, and we're actually like cringing watching these guys make these terrible fucking approaches. Because what most guys teach, it's not actually how to be confident, how to make a connection, how to like go in and find the humanity in people and connect with genuinely compatible people. It's how do I pretend to be confident and pretend to be someone that I'm not in order to fake attraction to make people want to sleep with me. That's what most people are teaching, and it works. But again, if you go to the pickup video, I'll explain how even though it works, it doesn't actually work, and it'll only result in bad results and alienate you and make you feel worse about yourself and ruin your entire fucking life. Anyway, that's 1 hour. I think that's a good place to close off, unless you have anything else you want to say.
I do have some more questions, but I'm going to keep them for next week.
Sure. Yeah, we can save them for next week, and I'll try and come up with another like introductory topic, because I think that helped. I think having something to talk about for the first 20 minutes helps me to warm up. Because I have found in the previous streams that we're doing, and maybe people watching can comment on this, whether they think that's an effect or not. Like, I have no doubts about my level of expertise or the fact that I am a good coach and my clients get results, but I find that it takes me a while for my mind to warm up and to actually properly answer questions, and to like, because I have all of this fucking information, but my ADD brain doesn't store it properly, and so it's all over the place. And unless I am warmed up and I'm in the file system and I can like bring everything into a cogent, like so I can like demonstrate things properly and speak things properly, I find that usually in the first half hour of these streams, and maybe this is just me, maybe it's the insecurity or whatever, and it's not actually happening, but I find that in like the first 20 minutes to half an hour before I feel warmed up and I feel like in a flow state and more fluid, I give worse answers. And I think the first half hour of these things are quite important, because people are, if people are coming in that are new, they might watch the first 10 minutes and then be like, this is bullshit, and leave. So I think it's good for me to come with some sort of introductory topic that I have like, tried to put together in a way that I don't need to rely too much on accessing information in my head, and it's all just on paper, and I can just go, here's a thing, and then that helps me warm up, and then we start going into questions, and then the questions are answered better, and everything flows a little bit better. Yeah, so I'll come with something next week. And if anybody watching this wants to join the community, it's Discord. There's a link in the description in case this vanity link ever changes, but right now the vanity link is discord.gg/self-improvement. There's lots of free content in there. There's also paid content. Like I this is my business. And you can take coaching calls, you can take a course, you can just reach out and take a free one-on-one call and learn what we're all about and see what we can do for you, and or just come in there and make, like, there's some good people in the community already, which is good, because I haven't really advertised it at all besides on some of these lives and things. Most people have joined just from the link, but there's some good people in there, and I am looking forward to ramping this up and building it into something that is genuinely helpful to people. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching. I have been Ben Campbell. This has been Off the Cuff. That's been Anton. Anton, thank you for joining me. And I'm going to end the stream.
My pleasure.
Are we still live? I don't know.